would do whatever I said out of loyalty and devotion for my attempts to create an afterlife for them. But the number of human kings and dwarven leaders were quite large, and these kingdoms did not get along well at all. Would they respect my name? Or would they look at my summons as being nothing more than a vain attempt to curry their favor? Regardless, I would have to try. Before I could open the gates of hell, I needed them all to know what was going on. And so I began to prepare for a great summit, one that I called the Tree-Moot. Messengers would be dispatched to every mortal leader in Yehan with a sealed letter meant to call them forth to my own dungeon. There was a new hall that had been built, one that was meant to house comfortably all 114 known rulers over Yehan. It was no small task to bring them all and sit them down to speak, but the alternative was to attempt to contact each ruler individually. Such an ordeal would require a great deal of time, and even if there was a consensus found, the agreements would only be between myself and those rulers. I needed everyone to work together. In a way, I was seeking out world peace, if only for just a very short amount of time. The letters were drafted, my seal was pressed firmly onto the papers to show that I meant business, and then my many messengers went out into the world. There were plenty of other matters for me to attend to in the meantime. I just hoped that I would receive cooperation from these men and women who watched over their own lands. The last thing I wanted to do was drag them to me. But that was certainly a move I was prepared to make. The Tree-Moot was not an option. Chapter 2. The state of my dungeon was absolutely magnificent. With 4 incredibly well-designed levels meant to provide adventurers with only the greatest of challenges, I had experienced a large influx of tourism. Many were arriving in search for the special magic items that goblin artisans regularly crafted to place behind the vaults that were behind the numerous traps. Others were starting to simply recognize the Feverwood dungeon as being a source of revenue, and a small tavern had been constructed outside. I had tried to warn the proprietor, a dwarf by the name of Bernson, that being located directly outside of my mouth was dangerous, but he ignored my warnings. "Such gold!" he had shouted. "These adventurers are thirsty enough to pay 30 gold per beer as if it were nothing. A man back in the Underlands would only make a few copper a drink." My policy had always been that I didn't care about what happened outside of my dungeon, for I did not stake any claim to the Feverwood itself. It was not my place to force this man to leave an area that had, within a 5-year period, been destroyed several times over. I hoped that the Burning Sun Tavern was at least made with sturdy wood. Not that it would help. Overall, I was pleased with the condition of my dungeon. The lives of the adventurers would provide me with plenty of magic, although I didn't need it as much as I had previously. With the power of Wyren's gift, the deep magic, pulsing within my body, I had tremendous power that surpassed this naturalistic magic that pervaded Yehan. But while it was stronger in every way, it was also more wild, untamed. In many ways, the deep magic had a life of its own, often trying to push its way out into the world so that it may achieve its own objectives. Holding on to deep magic was just as dangerous as releasing it, so my days were often filled with tension with this strange power. Oftentimes it felt as if it were an animal tied to a leash, attempting to escape or turn on me at any chance it got. I wondered what the long-term effects of holding such a power would be, but that would be a problem for another decade. As long as I was able to subdue this magic for now, I would be able to protect the people of Yehan. My first major task in preparation for this upcoming war was the creation of a new dungeon, one that would be under the ground, away from my own trunk. The Feverwood Dungeon, as adventurers called it, was designed to be a place of adventure and sport. There were great risks to be had, for certain, but there were also rewards placed for those who had the skill and the determination to get them. I made my traps fair and honorable, as a way to encourage these adventurers to arrive in the hopes of finding wealth and glory. But this new dungeon would be meant for only one thing: the eradication of an enemy force. I had already created a battlefield, a heavily fortified area meant to protect my collection of deep magic from enemy forces. My fear had been that the gods would try to retrieve the magic once I had stolen it, but it turns out that they were too afraid to do such a thing. So instead, this battlefield sat, deep beneath the earth, unused and neglected.